My name is Danielle Marsh. I was 33 years old, and I was standing in the middle of a marble ballroom while my husband told 200 people I couldn't afford the shoes on my feet. Welcome back to Cherry Revenge Tales. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight. And if you believe in calm, quiet justice, the kind that doesn't need to raise its voice, go ahead and like and subscribe before we get into this one. 1 week earlier, I was sitting at my in-laws' dining table in their house in Brookhaven, watching my husband's mother, Carol, refill her wine glass for the third time, while she explained, again, how lucky I was to have married into this family. Not everyone gets a second chance like you did, Carol said, cutting her chicken into precise little squares. Marrying Trent, a partner track attorney, most women like you don't land that. Mira mini tolling mignoned. I smiled and said nothing. Women like me. I'd heard that phrase from Carol so many times it barely registered anymore. Trent's younger sister, Ashley, was scrolling through photos of her new kitchen renovation on her phone, turning it around so everyone could admire the quartz countertops. $40,000, she said proudly. Michael doesn't even blink at stuff like that anymore. She glanced at me. I mean, I know that's probably more than your whole, whatever it is you do, makes in a year.
I run a property management company, I said quietly. Right, property management, Ashley repeated, like the words themselves were funny. Collecting rent checks, very glamorous. Trent laughed along with them, he always did.
At home he called it my little hobby, the business I'd built from nothing over 11 years, starting with a single duplex I'd bought with money I'd saved working 2 jobs through college. He'd never once asked to see the numbers, he assumed there was nothing to see. His father Richard cleared his throat at the head of the table. Speaking of money, he said, Trent tells us the firm Gala is next Friday. Black tie, very important people will be there, judges, senior partners, potential clients. Danielle, I trust you'll dress the part this time. This time, Carol echoed, arching an eyebrow at my blouse, which I happen to know cost more than her wine. I kept my expression still. I'll be there, I said. Good, Richard said, because Trent's up for full partnership this quarter, and appearances matter. We can't have anyone thinking he married beneath his prospects. That was the moment the real agenda came out. Richard leaned forward, folding his hands the way he did in depositions. There's also the matter of the Sycamore building. The firm's expanding, and Trent mentioned you own a commercial property downtown that would be perfect for the new offices. We'd want family rate, obviously, below market. It would look very good for Trent internally if he could say he arranged it. I set my fork down. Which building? The one on Sycamore and Fifth, Trent said, not quite meeting my eyes. The one you manage. I didn't correct him, not yet. We're not asking for charity, Carol added, softening her voice into something meant to sound reasonable. Just family helping family. Surely you can see how good this would be for Trent's career, for all of us. I'll think about it, I said. Richard's jaw tightened. There's nothing to think about, Danielle. This is Trent's future we're discussing, his name on that partnership door. I'd hate for anyone to think you were the reason he didn't make it. I felt the shift in the room, the way it always shifted when I didn't immediately agree. Ashley muttered something about ingratitude under her breath. Carol said I'd always been difficult about money for someone who has so little of her own. Trent stayed silent, which was its own kind of answer. I stood, thanked Carol for dinner, and left without raising my voice once. That night, lying awake next to Trent, I made a decision. If they wanted to use that building as leverage against me, they should probably know whose name was actually on the deed. But I wasn't going to tell them. I was going to let them find out. The next morning, I called my attorney, a sharp, unflappable woman named Priya Okafor, who had handled every acquisition I'd made since I started the company. I told her about the dinner, about the gala, about the pressure building around the Sycamore property. She was quiet for a moment. You know, Richard's firm has been trying to lease that building for 8 months, she said, through 3 different shell inquiries. They didn't know you were the owner of record. They still don't, I said. Do you want me at the gala Friday? Priya asked. I want you there at 9:15 exactly, I said, not a minute before. I also called my building manager, Owen, and asked him to pull the full ownership file, the original purchase documents, everything, and have it ready to email at a moment's notice. And that Friday morning, before I got dressed, I did one more thing. I put on the smartwatch Trent had given me 2 Christmases ago, the one with the voice memo function he'd never once used, and I turned on the recorder. A small red dot blinked once against my wrist. I slipped a black cardigan over it and went to get ready. The gala was held in the Ashworth Hotel ballroom downtown. Chandeliers, a string quartet, senior partners in tuxedos shaking hands under gold light. Trent looked sharp in his rented tux, practically vibrating with nerves about the partnership announcement expected that night. I wore a deep green dress I'd bought myself. No discount, no borrowed money, no permission asked. Within 20 minutes, Carol found me near the bar. "You could have tried harder," she said, eyeing my dress like she was pricing it. "Trent's colleagues are going to wonder why a partner's wife looks like she shops at outlet malls." "I'm comfortable," I said. "That's the problem with you," Carol said. "You've never understood that appearances are an investment." Richard appeared beside her, drink in hand, already flushed. "Danielle, good. I spoke with the managing partner about the Sycamore lease. I told him it was as good as settled." He smiled thinly. "I assume you've reconsidered the family rate." "I haven't changed my answer," I said, calm, even. "The building isn't available on those terms." Trent's face went tight. He pulled me aside near the edge of the dance floor, his voice low and sharp. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to me? This partnership matters. This is my career, Danielle, my future. Do you even understand what that means?" "I understand exactly what it means," I said. "Then act like it," he snapped, loud enough that a few heads turned. "You've had that stupid little rental business for years, and suddenly you think you're in a position to say no to my father? To my firm? You collect rent checks from tenants who can barely make ends meet. You are not a real player in this world, Danielle. You're a broke housewife who got lucky marrying me, and it is embarrassing." The music kept playing. A waiter passed with a tray of champagne. Somewhere behind Trent, I saw Priya step through the ballroom doors, exactly on time, a slim leather folder tucked under her arm. I didn't raise my voice. "Is that really what you think of me?" "It's what everyone thinks," Trent said. "Ask anyone here." "Careful," I said quietly. "You might want to look behind you before you say that again." Richard had drifted closer, sensing an audience forming, the way he always did. "Trent's right," he said loudly, clearly performing now for the small cluster of partners nearby. "This family has carried you for years, Danielle. The least you could do is let us use a building you don't even really work for. I'm sure your little management company just forwards the checks somewhere." That was when Priya reached us. "Actually," she said, calm and unhurried, opening her folder, "I can clear up the confusion. I'm Priya Okafor, Miss Marsh's attorney. The Sycamore and Fifth property isn't managed on behalf of another owner. Danielle Marsh has held sole title since the purchase 11 years ago." She turned a page. "Your firm submitted 3 separate leasing inquiries this year, Mr. Whitfield, all of which went unanswered, because the terms your associates proposed were below fair market value." The color drained slowly from Richard's face. "That's not possible," Carol said, but her voice had lost its certainty. "It's a matter of public record," Priya said pleasantly. "County Assessor's Office." I'd also point out that Danielle's company currently holds 4 commercial properties downtown, this one included, with a combined valuation north of $11 million. She glanced at Trent. "I believe congratulations were in order tonight, for the partnership. It would be a shame if this became the story people remembered instead." I lifted my wrist slightly, just enough for the small red light on my watch to catch the chandelier's glow. "For what it's worth," I said, "everything said here tonight has been recorded, including the part about the broke housewife who got lucky." Trent stared at the watch like it had grown teeth. "You've been, this whole time you were, since the dinner at your parents' house," I said. I thought it was important to have an accurate record of how family talks about family. Richard's managing partner, a tall silver-haired man named Holloway, who'd been listening from a few feet away, stepped in with the flat procedural tone of someone who had just realized his firm's reputation was standing on thin ice. "Richard," he said quietly, "my office, Monday morning." "And Trent, the partnership vote is being postponed pending review." "Postponed," Trent repeated, his voice cracking. "Dad, tell him this is a misunderstanding." But Richard wasn't looking at his son, he was looking at Carol, jaw working, and for the first time all night, I watched the two of them turn on each other instead of me. "You told me she had nothing," Richard hissed at Carol. "You said the business was a joke." I said what Trent told me, Carol shot back, her composure finally cracking into something brittle and ugly. I didn't do the digging, he did. Ashley, hovering nearby, had gone pale and silent, phone forgotten in her hand. Trent turned back to me, some of the fight draining out of him, replaced by something closer to panic. Danielle, please, we can talk about this at home. You called me a broke housewife in front of 200 people, I said, still calm, still even, in a building I own. I think we've said everything that needs saying tonight. I picked up my glass, thanked no one in particular, and walked out through the ballroom doors into the cool night air, leaving all four of them standing under the chandelier light, with nothing left to perform for. If there's one thing I want you to take from this, it's that you never owe anyone proof of your worth before you decide to protect it. I spent years letting a family measure me by what they assumed I lacked, when the truth was sitting quietly in paperwork they never bothered to read. You don't have to announce your strength to people who've already decided to underestimate you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay calm, keep your own records, and let the truth introduce itself on its own schedule. Thank you for watching this one all the way through here on Cherry Revenge Tales. If you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe for more stories like Danielle's, and if you haven't already, drop a comment and let us know where in the world you're watching from.